Let's talk today about building versus buying. When I was an MDM analyst at Gartner, I got this question often, easily 2 to 3 times a week, where companies would acknowledge that they have a need for MDM, and they would sit down with IT, or the business leaders would sit down with IT and say, we've got this problem or that problem. IT would figure out, okay, it's an MDM problem. And then IT would inevitably, particularly for very, very large companies, would inevitably go into some sort of build versus buy, which I found to be rather surprising, because the idea of building MDM software. Let's break it down a little bit. Gartner considers there to be, now this is Gartner's perspective, that I happen to agree with. Gartner believes that there's about 13 what they call critical capabilities of MDM software. These include things like capabilities related to workflow, right? You need to have some sort of capabilities to allow you to kind of manage a queue of to-do items, like, generally related to stewardship. So workflow is a key capability. Data quality is another key capability, critical capability of MDM. You need to be able to manage some data quality business rules and attributes. Hierarchy management is another kind of critical factor here. Also is, going back to data quality, something called entity resolution, which can be rather complex, aka complex, algorithmically driven in matching to understand whether, Acme Inc., Acme Co., Acme and Son is one thing, or if it's three things. Lots of other features, functions related to what Gartner would call kind of multiple implementation styles. So you need to be able to support both analytical styles of MDM and in MDM software and operational styles of MDM software. Integration capabilities are another one. You need to be able to take data from just about anywhere and push data to just about anywhere. So obviously database persistence is another part of it, and on and on. So across those 13 capabilities, we're talking about a lot of code here, a lot of code. So if you are a relatively large company, let's say you're 1-2 billion plus, the idea that you could make MDM software and have it be on par with the capabilities that you could get for ever decreasing costs. The costs of MDM software have been coming down year over year over year over year over year. Thank you, cloud. Thank you, SaaS. Thank you, a highly competitive market. On and on. Costs have been coming down. So the idea that you as a large company could build something that had all of those capabilities, all 13 of these critical capabilities, some of them being rather complex, particularly data quality. Some of the integration patterns can be rather complex. Some of the administrative and stewardship capabilities, some of the UIs here related to stewardship can be fairly complex. So you're talking about a UI-driven interface here where there are absolutely kind of user experience considerations to be made here. So the idea that you as a relatively large company could build something that would be on par or close to on par with anything that you could get off the shelf is probably not likely. I mean, it's not probably, it's not likely. I mean, highly unlikely that you could, for the cost of $100,000. I'll just throw that number out there. The average cost of an MDM software platform has been coming down. The costs vary, depends on how much data you're putting in the platform. But on average, Gartner, when I was there, was quoting an average cost of around $250,000 to $300,000. So the idea that you could build one of these platforms for even $300,000, or let's say let's spread it over a 5-year lifespan or 3 years. To follow more of a CapEx schedule. So it's $1 million, right? Could you, for $1 million, build a platform that's on par? I would argue that you probably couldn't, even for $1 million. With average software engineer costs, like you're going to be per engineer, you're easily into the 6 figures, plus benefits, plus all those other things. I mean, you're probably talking about a team of 7 or 8 or 9, maybe even 10 engineers. I mean, the costs here add up quickly, not to mention the opportunity cost that those engineers could be working on something else, like your core business, because data management probably isn't your core business. So why you would want to get into that business is beyond me. But opportunity costs plus hard costs, all of those things, the idea that you could build something here to be on par with any software solution that's available in the market is just not there, guys. It's just not there. Now, Could you, if you were a relatively small company and some of your MDM needs were pretty light, and all you were trying to do was to build an analytical style of MDM that allowed you to kind of have a 360 view, could you get away with something that was a little stripped down, that was enabled a little bit of integration, a little bit of data persistence, a little bit of data quality? Could you do it at a lower cost than what you would get from a full functional MDM platform on the open market? You probably could. You probably could. Could it meet 50, 60% of your requirements? Maybe. I mean, I don't know your requirements. So I don't know, but maybe. But at that point, you're kind of locked into this built solution that you've got that would take months and months to build, by the way. So that's another issue, right? Does your business have 6 months or a year to wait for something? They probably don't. Or they probably don't want to, all else being equal, right? They want a solution now. I've never met a business stakeholder that doesn't want a solution yesterday. So could you build something kind of light and stripped down to do pseudo MDM, something that kind of looks a little bit like MDM that meets some of your requirements? Yeah, you probably could. But then you're kind of committed to building this thing and maintaining and operating this thing. And inevitably, if it does meet your requirements, your stakeholders are going to want more, right? You're going to be a victim of your own success. They're going to want more, and then you're going to have to enhance this thing. So for the overwhelming majority of companies out there, the idea that you could go and build your own MDM, it just doesn't make any sense. And trust me on this one, guys, I learned the hard way. I tried to build an MDM out of Salesforce.com. This is the first time we did this. We tried to use some of the UIs in Salesforce as stewardship UIs. We leveraged some of the integration capabilities with Salesforce. We tried to leverage some of the data persistence capabilities there. Turns out their object-based data model was horrible for MDM. I could go way down that rabbit hole and tell you some of the things why it didn't work, and why so many other solutions like that I heard of when I was a Gartner analyst didn't work. Anyway, make a long story short, 95 times out of 100, I just can't see why you would need to build your own MDM, unless you were like the biggest of the biggest of the big companies. Maybe you're in national security. Maybe you are in an uber large bank with just really unique and really interesting maybe even then. I mean, you're talking about replicating software platforms that's been in the market for almost 2 decades now. MDM's been out there for 2 decades. So these products have been iterated and developed and advanced, and you're just never going to catch up, even if you could build something from scratch. So as you can tell, I'm kind of pro-buy here, not because I work for an MDM vendor, but just because of the time involved, the ongoing maintenance involved, the opportunity costs involved, the time that you'd have to ask your business to wait for this thing to get built. Generally just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, guys, that's a discussion about building versus buying MDM. I hope you found some value in the content that I'm sharing today. Look for additional episodes of MDM Bytes coming to your neighborhood sometime very soon. Thanks, all.